She told me that any oppressive rule or regime against womanhood is not a culture. I agree with that. I would add anything which is oppressive in its nature is basically not a culture. Against anyone. So against black Americans, against Dalits, against another religions, against many parameters for that matter. So that is not culture. She was very rightly saying what culture is. It's a big matrix. It's a big umbrella under which you have costumes and clothing and fashions and accessories. I totally agree. Then food and nutrition, which is so close to the theme of home science. Any culture, starting from the Mesopotamian to Australian to Indian to American to European culture, you cannot speak of any culture without referencing to the food and nutrition of that peculiar region or continent. It's food forms such an important aspect of any given culture. The next is language and literature, about which I will be speaking a little more. And then arts and music. When many of the teachers keep telling me that young people don't read, I tell them, yes, I agree. But they do see. And they do see better than us. Because the visual sense of your generation is way better than us. Way better than us. Any person from 20 can take a very good photograph or a selfie. Because he or she is able to know how to frame it, where to hold the camera, how the light should be, what editing effect should be given. So it's all creativity. So you have a very good visual sense, but then you need to convert it into culture through efforts. As I told you, not only with the Insta Reels. Then we have sports. Now I have seen the colleges where there are separate sports clubs, and the sports club people, they always do fight with the cultural club people over the superiority of body versus mind. And when we did, it's not the truth. They are so intertwined, so interconnected. A good, able mind, which is ready for creativity, is only operational when you have a good, able, sound body. And for that you need to exercise a lot for your age, not only watch your screens. Then we have knowledge and stories. So one element of culture is science as well, as she was telling. It's a knowledge. Science in terms of many fraternities. And then there are stories which may not be science, but which speaks of the ambitions, dreams, failures of the society at large. So you have myths. And no society, even after the scientific revolution, industrial revolution, has been able to even marginalize, forget about wiping out, even marginalizing myths. Myths are very essential for the saneness of society. And myths have internal wisdom. So when we go and read the stories from, say, Mahabharata or Ramayana, that era is such a historical era, but you can still relate with the plight of Sita. You can still relate with the dilemma of Ram. And why that happens? Because in spite of all the changes, the human mind hasn't changed. You can read Shakuntal and you can fall in love with Kalidas again, because the emotion of love is still the same at the core of all human beings. It hasn't changed at all. So culture, why I'm telling you this? Because culture, on one hand, is about traditions, and one hand about reinventing. So you have the same themes, like love, like hatred, like jealousy. But then the new writer will depict it in a new form, using new characters who are living in today's age. So, see, that's how culture is. It's a big, beautiful mess, if you ask me. And definitely what culture is not. It's oppression, subjugation, violence, for that matter, hatred. It's not a culture. And unfortunately what is sold these days in the name of culture is precisely all this. People sell violence in the name of culture. People sell hatred. We were talking about the cultural part and the cultural part. But let me talk about the club part. You are forming a cultural club today. What's the need of the concept of club? Let me tell you that. Have you heard of writer Yuval Harari by any chance? Any one of you? He is a great thinker from Israel, and he speaks on the platforms like Google and many. His books Sapien or Homo Deus or 21 Lessons are bestsellers. So he writes very succinctly that individual, 50 individuals with the best creative minds won't and can't compete with even 5 people who are working in organization. So if there are, for example, 100 people, independent, doing a nice show, writing something nice, doing some nice real work on the Insta, speaking nicely, they have good oratory skills. But until and unless they unite together and form something constructive, come up with something constructive, then the effect would be as good as zero. So believe me, when each of you independently was doing Instagram, it was of no use. But today you should all come up together, all these groups, photography, sports, all these groups, and try to create a 30-second Instagram on today's program. Add my photo, please don't forget that. And ma'ams also. And then you will realize what I mean. When you will be sharing your own reel, say you will get 30 likes, 50 likes, 100 likes. When all of you will tag this reel, it's going to get viral, if it's good. And it's going to create a name of your college across the Pune. That's the power of club. That's the power of organization. And that's where you are standing today and forming today. I must congratulate every one of you. I must thank on your behalf your teachers, Professor Mathkari ma'am, for encouraging you to form this club. That's so needed. So what's the trouble with the social media, in my opinion, is that you can unfriend anyone very easily. Or you can block. If you are so much angry, you can block someone. But will you be able to do it with your neighbors? You need to shift yourself to other country all the time. You can't unneighbor. You won't be able to do that in real life. So what we do? We do adjust. We do understand that even they have their own problems. उनके भी घर में कुछ है प्रॉब्लम भी है, चलो छोड़ देते हैं, कभी झगड़ा करेंगे. So this level of understanding another person, another individual, another family, another society, and being tolerant is essence of what culture defines. That's the culture. When you will start following this, you will be really culturally able person. Interculturally as well. Because see, there are so many other cultures. You should be aware of what other cultures are. That's precisely what. So when you are aware of your own culture, you should not get stuck there. Talking about the traditions, let me tell you that I was a student of Mathkari ma'am. The very reason I am here today because I cannot say no to her. And I know most of you will agree with me. Saying no to her is a very tough task. So it's a wise thing to say yes and follow. So I always do. So the thing is, I was myself a student. I did my dentistry, and then I stood first in university while I did MA English. So in the second year of my masters in English, ma'am helped me a lot. I was enrolled as an external student. I wasn't a direct student at all. But the kind of commitment of a teacher, that also is a culture, which is now lacking. I came up with the idea of book room, and I started doing that. Then I thought that every Wednesday I should come up with it. And I felt it must be so easy. Very shooting garage. Maybe just outside somewhere. It must be so easy. And now 15 episodes are out, and believe me, it's one of the toughest व्रत. It's a व्रत. म्हणजे पूर्वी त्या बायका मंगळवार वगैरे धरायच्या ना सगळ्या. So then I understood the value of those व्रत, the concept of the व्रत. or the concept of, for that matter, fasting during the period of Ramadan. I always used to wonder that what sense does it make to compel one's body in any religion. All religions, Easter, Ramadan, fasting in Hindu, all traditions. So that, what sense does it make? And then when I started doing this book, bro, I realized the sense of that culture. That even if you are not feeling well, I wasn't, for that matter, for 2 Wednesdays. In the Wednesday morning, I felt like, nahi kuch to karna hai. I need to do something. I need to come up with the episode. It's like my commitment with my own self. And it healed me. I actually felt better after, shooting that episode on that Wednesday, though I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't feeling really well that day. I had fever, everything. But see, that's the power of your traditions. And what is not a power of the tradition? To not change in the sense of changing times. Because you need to reinvent. That's my last point of today's speech. That if you want to thrive or to survive, forget about winning, I'm talking about surviving and thriving. Then the first rule that you should be, number one, flexible. You shouldn't be rigid. Me fakta dosas khanar. No. You need to try something. Starting from your food. You need to be flexible. Because believe me, you will be changing your jobs every year. Either you will be out or the manager is going to throw you out. So what does reinvention mean? Reinvent is to find you again and again. And for both these things, the foundation is having a steady, stable, creative mind, which only this cultural club experience would offer you. This is the significance of today's day. That when you will be participating in any of the events of cultural club, starting from the event management, starting from bringing the right matchstick for this, to the execution. No, I was offered with a lighter to, do this, so this was way better. So I won't blame that, plus your students. The thing is this, that you need a creative mind, you need a steady mind, and you need a culture for that. You need to play an instrument, you need to really do good exercise, you need to like some sports. You may not be excelling in any of that, but you should give a try at writing poem. You should give a try at playing table tennis. You should give a try at doing some gym work. You should give a try at singing, why not? At your home, you should give a try at dancing, but no, I shouldn't say that because this generation is too groovy. They already dance a lot. So, yes, do dance, but then do stabilize yourself later and be ready for the immense competition that you are going to face in the future. All the best for your future. All the best for this cultural club events and whatever you may be planning for this year, all those events, all those competitions, make them time relevant. Don't ask the people to sing the songs from 1950s. Please don't use that. That's no more working. And thank you all the teachers here. Thank you Mathkari ma'am for inviting me in the first place. It's a very pleasure experience always to be with young people. And all the more special it becomes when you have intelligent young woman in front of you, answering confidently, sitting confidently, standing confidently. Thank you. See, that's why you need a teacher. So, formally, I inaugurate this cultural club of Home Science College.